Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Jennifer. If you are new here, thank you so much for stopping by and clicking on this video right here. I am so glad that you did, and I hope you guys enjoy this makeup look and this little chit chat time that we have together. Today's look, I'm actually really excited. I've never really done a look like this before, so that's what we're going to be doing on my eyeballs. I hope it comes out good. I don't usually play with color all that often. I'm pretty neutral gal, but we'll see how it goes. So if you guys are interested in seeing how I get that look right there, then stay tuned and let's see how it goes. Let's see if it goes well or it turns out to be a pile of shit. Without further ado, let's hop right in. I already did my eyebrows and I primed my lids with the Shiseido, what is this called? Synchro Skin Self-Refreshing Concealer, and I am in the shade 201 Light. So it's this little guy right here. I didn't put any like powder on my lids because I'm assuming with this look I'll be needing to do a lot of packing with the color. So to attempt to get this look, I'm going to be using the Trending in Tokyo palette, which is so beautiful. It's so many bright colors. Oh, it just looks so pretty. And I'm going to go in first with this shade called Blossom. Guys, like the weather is so weird today. Like 1 second it's gloomy AF, and then the next it's like sunny. Like right now, like it was just super sunny. Now it's like gloomy. So if the lighting is weird, I really do apologize. It's not me, it's the weather. I can't help it. So I wanted to do like a story time in this video, do something different, spice it up, and tell you guys a little story about myself. I feel like I have so many weird stories about myself. Everyone always tells me like I should write a book, but that like takes so much time and energy that I honestly just don't have. So about, let's see, my son is 11. He was 2 at the time, so that's 9 years ago. See how I did a little math there? So talented. So about 9 years ago, I was visiting my cousin in the Cleveland area. I'm not going to say exactly where, but it was in a suburb of the Cleveland area. And I am taking that shade pretty high up because I'm going to blend it out with a fluffier brush. So I was visiting her in the Cleveland area. She at the time was living with my uncle, her dad, but him and my aunt, his wife, were not home at the time. So it was just myself, my 2-year-old son, my cousin, and her 2 kids. And we that day had went out shopping, and I think maybe out to dinner or to lunch or whatever. We got home, we watched a little bit of TV. We had thrown like all of our purses and bags on the couch. It was maybe like around midnight or so, maybe 1 o'clock in the morning. And we decided, you know, like, okay, we're going to go off to bed. So the way that we were sleeping was my cousin and her daughter were sleeping in one room, and then I was sleeping in the other room with my 2-year-old boy. Now, before any of you haters like go off, my son was not usually sleeping with me in the same bed. I know you guys are gonna be like, that's dangerous, you could roll over on him, you could crush him. Like, under normal circumstances, my son from birth was always sleeping in his own bassinet, crib, bed, whatever. But when I was visiting my cousin, like, there was only so many bedrooms, so we basically were all like having to, you know, share beds because we were limited on space. So it was her and her kids in one room, me and my son in the other, and that's the way that we were set up on sleeping. So we go to bed like at around midnight or 1 in the morning, and I don't know exactly what time. I want to say maybe around 3 in the morning. The door to my bedroom that I'm sleeping in opens, and I was staying in my little cousin's room, and she had a big tall dresser set up with all her perfumes on it because she loved perfume, she loved scents. And I'm going in with the darker shade emoji, and I'm going to put that on the inner and outer parts of my lid. So when the door opened, it hit that dresser and it knocked over one of the perfumes, which woke me up. And at the start, I thought it was my little cousin. I'm not going to say her name just for the sake of, you know, I'm not going to say anyone's names because I just don't know if they would prefer for their name to be said on the internet. So I, like, you know, wake up out of my sleep. I was in a pretty deep sleep, and I thought it was her. And I was like, what is she doing just standing there? And like, why does she have a white mask on? So then the person stepped into the room, and as soon as they stepped in a little bit, because the TV was on in the room, I fell asleep with the TV on, and the light from the TV hit their face, I was like, oh, this isn't my cousin. Okay. So I realized, you know, what was going on, that someone had broken into the house. And he walked into the room. He put his finger like this, you know, like motioning for me to be quiet, and then told me to get up. And I was just like, you know, scared stiff in the bed. Like I could not move if I wanted to, basically, is what was going on. So I was just like, you know, scared shitless, basically. And, you know, he was like, I told you to get up. And now what's going through my head is like, okay, I have to comply, because if I don't, you know, I don't want him pulling out a gun or anything, and my 2-year-old son is in the room. So I start, you know, getting up, and I'm sitting up in the bed, and he grabs my arm, pulls me up out of the bed, and just starts walking out of the bedroom. And I'm like, what do you want? He then like shakes me by my arm, and he's like, I told you to be quiet. And I'm like, okay, I'm sorry. So I don't know what came over me, but I obviously disobeyed, because I mean, that's just who I am. Never do what I'm told. And I just start screaming for my big cousin, you know, that's like close to my age, who I was visiting. And I'm like screaming her name, and I'm like, get up. And she comes running out of the door, and, you know, she sees this man, and she's like, what is going on? And I think the first thing that came to her mind was that I had someone over. she's like, what's going on? So I say in our language that, you know, someone had broken the house. So she at this point starts asking the same question. She's like, what do you want? What do you want? So at this point, he like has me by the arm and he's dragging me down the stairs. And I see, you know, like as I'm looking at him that he keeps holding this one hand in his pocket. So I'm like, oh shit, you know, does this guy got a gun in this pocket? Like, is that why he's not moving that hand? And I didn't know if he really did have a gun or if he was just trying to scare me by, you know, trying to make me think that. So we make our way downstairs, and finally, like the 30th time that my cousin says, what do you want? He finally just starts saying money, money, over and over again. Now, as we're downstairs, as I had mentioned before, we went shopping that day, and we had left all of our bags of stuff that we bought, our purses, downstairs. So we're like passing open purses with wallets in them, shopping bags full of brand new stuff, big screen TV on the wall, like all this stuff. Like if you want money, you could be taking this Xbox, this big screen TV. Like there's so much stuff that you could be taking right now, and you're not. Which was really, really, really strange to us both. I'm taking this shade called Saki. I was gonna say Sake, but yeah, no, that's Saki. Duh. Tokyo, Japan. Wait, is Tokyo in Japan? Tokyo's in Japan, right? And I'm just going to... She has that all along her lower lash line. Okay. Alright, I'm going to deepen it up a little bit with this darker purple shade called Kyoto. If I'm mispronouncing these and saying something really offensive in a different language, I am so sorry. I don't speak this language. I don't know what I'm saying. I'm really sorry. I hope I'm not saying anything wrong and like offending anyone. What's closer to her color is this color Fortune, and then we're probably gonna have to like spice it up with a little like highlight right on top. So as he's walking through the house saying money, not grabbing any of our stuff, makes total sense, right? My little cousin by now has woken up, and she at the time is probably at the most, I'm gonna say she's maybe 15. She's awake now because she hears like everything going on. And she comes downstairs, she comes halfway down the stairs. We like motion for her not to come any further. And she's got the phone in her hand, and we say in our language for her to call 911 basically. I'm gonna take a little bit of ColourPop Flexitarian because I feel like she has a little bit of... Do I just want to apply this with my finger maybe? I don't know. So I actually finished both eyes. I was gonna do like a really small wing just to hide the lash band, and then it ended up somehow being this gigantic wing on my eye, and I feel like I blacked out. I feel like I don't know what happened, but here we are. He stops in front of the table, and at this point I'm like, oh my gosh, okay. I don't know why this popped into my head, But I was like, this is it. This is where this man is going to rape me. I don't know why that came into my head when he stopped in front of the dining room table. I guess maybe because it was like a flat surface. I'm not really for sure. But it was like clear that he really didn't want money. Like, because if he wanted money, he would have taken our purses, our wallets. So like, I already knew at this point, I was like, okay, he's saying money over and over again, but that's obviously not what he wants. And I just, like, that's what came in my head. I was like, he is going to rape me right here, and life is never going to be the same again. And I just remember, like, in that moment, kind of trying to mentally prepare myself for that as much as I guess one possibly can. And I just kept praying, like, dear God, please don't let any of the kids come downstairs. Like, that's all that was on my mind. I didn't really care about anything else. I don't even remember what he stopped there for. He just stood there for like probably 30 seconds, I'm sure is all it was, but to me it felt like an eternity. And then he just kept walking around the house. And we made our way into, or he made his way into, I should say, in the kitchen. And I remember passing this butcher's block. And I was like, oh my gosh, like, do I grab a knife out of here and like try to stab this guy? And I'm like not one for violence. I don't believe in hurting anyone else. I'm not the type to ever say that violence is the answer, but when it comes to protecting your family, your kids, other people's children, that's where I found myself at that moment, which is so sad to think back on. And again, what seemed for like another eternity, I was trying to figure out, do I try to grab this knife and, try to stab this guy just to hold him off until, the police get there. But, he's still got me by the arm at this point. My heart is just, I don't even know how to describe it, like trembling, racing, you name it. That's what my heart is doing. And I just remember like saying, God, like, what do you want me to do? Like, do you want me to grab this knife right now? Do you not want me to grab this knife right now? Like, what do you want me to do? And I just remember like something telling me, and regardless of what you believe in, like if you believe in God, if you believe in a higher power, most people do believe in something. And I believe that, this was just God speaking to me. I'm just telling me like, I have you. I have you. And I just remember hearing that like so distinctly in my mind. And at that moment I was like, okay, like, I'm gonna trust. I'm not going to try to do anything on my own, And it was like maybe 30 seconds later, after I heard that like inner voice say like, I got you, he just let go of my arm and walked out of the kitchen door. And I was like, what? Like, you know, like, what in the world? So of course, you know, we run over to the door, we immediately slam it, we lock it, and we're just like screaming, like, what in the world? We're crying hysterically. We run upstairs, we check on all the kids. You know, I just grab my son, even though he's still sleeping, and I'm just like holding him. And it's just like, you know, you feel like you're having an out-of-body experience at that point. So, eventually, it's Cleveland. Eventually, the cops show up. And they're like asking us a bunch of questions. You know, like, how did he get in the house? Blah, blah, blah. And we're like, we don't know. We were sleeping. It's not like we invited him in here. So it was later determined that he got in the house by the kitchen window, which made total sense because we always, when we would cook, we would leave the kitchen window open to like let out all the, like, you know, steam and whatever from the stove. And you know, you think you lock all the doors and all the windows and stuff, but we obviously left that one open. And that's how he got in. Like, he took like a, you know, box cutter or something and cut a slit in the window, which the window was like higher up. So he took a lawn chair that we had outside, or they had outside, I was just visiting, and he stood on the lawn chair to be able to reach the window. And then he took a box cutter, cut a slit in the screen, and came in through the house. And it's just such a feeling of violation. Like, we couldn't even stay in the house that day or that next night. Like, we just felt so like violated. Just your space and everything. We had to leave. So we like packed up the kids, packed a bag, went and got a hotel room, because we just like, we couldn't even be in that space. And then it was just such a strange procedure afterward. Like, they have to swab your DNA because they have to like check for the intruder's DNA. So they have to like swab your DNA, getting your fingerprints, and mind you, they never found the guy, which is awesome. I'm using the Milani. This is the Silky Matte in number 3. And then when you go through things like that, you're just so traumatized for so long. Like, I remember, because at the time I was still living with my parents. I had left my child's father. I was living with my parents. Fun times, by the way. And I had to sleep with the light on for like the longest time. I'm not really contouring today, by the way. I'm just like trying to warm up the skin with this. And I remember my mom came in the room one time just to check on me, just to like make sure I was okay. But she didn't realize that I was like sleeping. And I just jumped so high out of the bed. I was like, you could not shut the lights off in my room. I could not be alone once the sun would set. Like, once the sun would set and it would be dark, someone had to be home with me. And one of the strangest things, and I did see a therapist a couple of times after this happened, and I told her about this. I was like, I can't look in mirrors because I'm like so fearful that I'm gonna see his face like behind me in the mirror. And she's like, that's actually very common for people who have been through a traumatic situation like this. And then I went through this whole phase like where I would tell certain people who would say they were my friends, but they really weren't. You'll go through phases in life. The older you get, you'll go through a few of these phases where you'll have to like purge your friendships. But anyway, I would tell certain people and they would either think that A, I was making it up, B, I was exaggerating the situation, or C, that this was a guy that I had invited over and I had to end up calling the cops on him. And I was like, no. This was a guy that I had called over and it ended up being like a domestic dispute. Like, I would call it what it is. I wouldn't be sitting here like lying about it. Why would I go outside, stand on a lawn chair, cut a slit through my cousin's screen? Like, I know I'm crazy, but I'm not that crazy. So next I'm going to go in with the CoverGirl True Blend Stunna Highlight. I'm really trying to remember if I love this highlight or I hate it. And I really hope I love it because I don't want to ruin my look. I also did, I think I forgot to mention, I threw a purple eyeliner in my waterline. So anything that I didn't mention, and also like the names or the shades or anything, will be listed in the description box below. This was the Artist Couture and Saucy Gal. These two have been my favorite combo. Well, that is it, guys. That is the completed look. I'm really loving it. This has been like probably one of my favorite looks I've done in a while. What do you guys think? Do you like it? Do you want to try it? Well, that's it, guys. I hope you really enjoyed our story time. Get ready with me. And until the next one, you are beautiful inside and out. Bye.